Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. As we are about to start this presentation, we are at just the beginning of it. I'll start with a confession that this presentation was all prepared, started today morning at 11 o'clock and it just finished at 3:05 and almost an hour back. And whatever content you are going to see is just going to come through. As we go through, you'll come to know whatever is coming through for you. Primarily, my request would be to keep your eyes and ears here. Because for this presentation, whatever will come through will be for you as well. So my best wishes. This self-discovery, to me, internally, it appears it is more of an exploration which I did in so many years. And this is helping me do my mapping as well. Over so many years, the kind of experiences I had through the time which I had spent, the interaction which I had with people, the road which I had traveled, I had one of the way of marking it, but with the GVP, that entirely changed to a new level of mapping. Let us see what that mapping is and what more to be explored as well. Because as we map, we explore even more. So my name is Tejvir. This is the best thing possibly I can have ever. And as we see through this presentation, you would know more about this, why I'm so excited. From the day one when I joined MiDNA, many times I was asked, what is your one aha moment or those kind of things. I never realized that was an aha moment within me. It was over a period of years, I have tried to slow down myself on various things and let the things percolate at the natural level it is. When I saw this UID, I was very happy because to me, this is the scores which I never got in my school life. The A1s and the sequence of A1s, the combination of A1s is really amazing. And the best part is some new character X, the X3, possibly it is going to show its colors, which is already it is showing its colors in the presentation. You will discover even more and how much fun it could add to one's life. If there is no excitement, God is gracious enough to gift it with X. So the whole is more than the sum of its parts. It is very, very true. That is the reason I have not put space marks after any lobes. I have added them. Well, as I'm speaking, and as you are listening to this presentation, the whole is working more than each individual parts of it. So let us see what more is there. So as you would have seen in this UID, for the stalwarts who are here in this room right now, who have seen hundreds and thousands of reports, they can easily make out that personality is effective. And this one quotes go well with me as well. I want to be like water. I am a water. I want to slip through fingers, but hold up a ship. This image also represents very nicely the aspect which is there within me, that is space element, the X factor. And it will show up. Just to start with, I'll be sharing a lot of experiences for a basic understanding for people who are new here. Or maybe stalwarts as well, how the X plays its role. It is like this glass of water. Now, if I moves like this. I externally move it like this. It's very good. It keeps on circulating and moving. But in my case, the space inside it itself started moving it. These cycles, these movements within it. And I'm discovering that as the time passed by, and still discovering it, what all it has done to me and what it all has happened to the world around me as well. This is me, small baby. The expression on the small kid's face shows it all. As on date, it remains. Okay, where I am, I don't know who am I is the question, and where I'm leading up to, I don't know. Since I'm here, let me have my enjoyment. Let me play with my toys. Let me have a good life around. I'm basically a happy-go-lucky person. The things move it, and the things are experiential for me more than anything else. And the X is playing its role. Just remember that every time in the presentation. So this is the image which possibly represents my life from my childhood till now. It is like there was a Swedish psychiatrist who said, we are all in post-hypnotic trance induced in early fancy. And this was the what I have been, and yet while I'm in this trance, I'm working on making things better for myself and the world around. My experiences were limited to what I could see or understand with limited capacity. As we all know, the frontal part, it has an X in it. It's like GM who is not working well or who is really random in nature, maybe works at all, or how it will work is totally a surprising thing. So as we work on, I'll share that as further. This is a very relevant photograph, a very, very relevant photograph. While I was small, there was time when in this age itself, maybe I was in second standard or third standard. There were during examination, I went to the school. I submitted the paper, came back. My mother asked me, what have you written the answer as an answer to those questions which were asked? I responded each and every answer which was known to me, and everything was right. She was shocked to know that I had submitted answer sheet as a blank because I never wanted to write. It was not in my mood, it was not in my temperament, and that remained with my life. There are so many things which I did or didn't do just because of my randomness, the space inside me which was working. And it was, most of you are from the school side. For me, it was very easy to know my rank in this class. If there were almost 54 students or 56 students in the class, my rank used to be 54th or 56th, an easy thing to remember. And my mother used to say, still she says, that you are like an tail of the elephant. If you have passed through any door, we know the world has passed through. Your colleagues, your friends have passed through. So that was the wonder. Coming to the traits. Now this is again X playing here. Things coming out of references. The reason I started, I prepared this presentation today morning, starting today at 11 o'clock till now, is because I had the confidence, I have the motivation, I know what I can do with that. And with all these profiles, the traits which are being seen on the screen, a lot of them have already been worked upon. Yes, their impressions are there. There are certain impressions for life, and they are good. And since homework is pretty big here, to do something like with my patience, something like with my thoughtfulness, something with my persistence, not to ignore the gap between the friendliness and the efficiency. Other things are comparatively easy. This is one of my favorite persons. I have found it over so many years, Milton Erickson. Allow yourself to see what you don't allow yourself to see. This is very important when a person is in trance. For me, who was induced much early to trance, and still I'm working and trying to allow myself to see whatever is there. This is an amazing fruit. For those who don't know, it has seeds outside it compared to many fruits which has seeds inside of it. Another fruit which possibly has seeds, which possibly not possibly, but which has the seeds out, is the cashew nut. In this strawberry, this is one fruit where I can relate very much. For many things, there are outside of me for my sensory experiences, which I had discovered in very recent years. And I had shared with you the cycles here. So we'll see that reflection of it here as well. This is one of the cyclic patterns which I could understand very recently, in the last maybe 3-4 years, from flower to the fruit. This is a cyclical nature which is there. Apart from this, there is another cyclical thing which happens, is this. Not only from flower to the fruit, but it is also from the seed to the fruit. Maybe seed to the seed, you can say, a full cycle. And with all these seeds, it's like you initiate with one and you go on compounding and multiply. Every seed will have its own life cycle, and similarly, every flower would have its own cycle. In our psychological line, or primarily these days it's NLP, they call it as the butterfly effect. A seed which has the power to change a lot of things, which has power to compound over a period of time. From a just slight movement to the tornadoes. This cyclical nature is there with me, and as a part of my experience, I'm blessed that I can see these patterns, these cycles for others around me or whoever interact with me. These comes naturally to me. For others, there are different cycles. So different parts of it, the more people are there, the more cycles I can possibly see. And this is the everyday thing which happens to me. And this is something which I was so confused about. And I couldn't come to terms with it. As the time happened, I'll share with the stories as well. I could come to terms with this thing, that if I can see those patterns, possibly it is one of the capability which I have. Coming to the disk model, sir would say, what is this? The highlighted here portion is the unsteadiness. So the actual is this. I'm being an optimistic guy. I see things like this. At least I was consistent in inconsistency. So, and that made me do lot of things. It changed the whole course of things. It is what our strengths bring to us is one part is, another is where our weakness lies. So like the butterfly, I kept on hopping on so many things. And that's why that experience of strawberries, seeds is also part of it. It is thanks to this X factor here. which played a major role. This is the lobe-wise energy distribution. As you can see, the X factor comes at possibly it turns out to be a bigger challenge if I understand these reports very well. And best part is, in spite of all those challenges at the right frontal lobe, the processing speed remains the fast. The left brain is pretty fast. So there is this gap, and which was constantly, I could feel this while so many years on this space in this earth. The lower part, if we focus on it, the frontal thoughts, the right lobe of it, brings the randomness. So that's where that earlier slide of unsteadiness I can relate and see there. Other is the seeing part. It is not that less, but once there is this randomness, you tend to see whatever that randomness brings to you. The other lobes are pretty mighty, standing strong and tall. Not much of a work to be done on those parts. But in terms of understanding and the play of this right frontal lobe itself is a biggest play, which you can say a challenge or a play is it's an equally good word. I'm playing the game. These are the certain important parameters, which I shared earlier as well. So coming to the other, this learning part of it, the trance, the image which I showed you earlier, is this only. It is the external, 54.57%, pretty big. And too small a person, too small at that age to understand that all that sensory things has an kinesthetic association, and which I've started working off late. Almost 5-6 years back, I've started working on this, the kinesthetic part of it. Other things are pretty balanced. The only challenge remains this X, which is playing in time and again. As far as the processing goes, it is affective personality, water element. The cognitive is 10%. Emulative, this makes it very, very, very simple for anybody to make it out. This is interesting. The whole brain processing. In spite of challenges in the right frontal lobe, the right brain intuitive to me has played a bigger role compared to whatever these readings show. That possibly the X factor is. Thinking orientation speed. Now here if we see the impact of that X, my sequential thinking is normal, the random thinking is fast. So this is the pure play of X which can be seen here. I would like to move it to the experiences, because numbers are just the references. As I said, the tags for the mapping part. The personality here is execution is effective, thoughts is effective in the left brain. In the right brain, it is effective is the execution and thoughts is the game. Just one work at every sphere of whatever I touch upon. And GBP possibly has given me an answer to this. The converging thought process, or whatever you can call it the other way, looking at, is the one area which I need to work on, and that possibly is the possibility as such as well. Once I understood all those things, then I also got to know this brains aren't designed to get results. And that's where what is very, very important. This is here what GBP brings its value. It is important to know that how they work. Brains go in directions. If you know how the brain works, you can set directions. If you don't, someone else will. Possibly this was the experience which I was having within me from my childhood. The brain was working and I couldn't understand the direction where it is working. There was no interpretation, no psychological support, no help on that part. Thankfully, my parents were supportive enough. They were encouraging enough. They had, my family was good. I had a very, very happy life. So much so to the extent that I married at a very, very early age. As we discuss in Self-Discovery 2.0, which I shall be doing it pretty soon, I'll be sharing those aspects as well. Coming back to this topic, so with the experiences, there were so many good things which happened with me. There were so many wrong things which happened with me. There were implications of my decisions of the work which I did. The randomness which it brought to me. I could find out the direction in which my mind works. And here I am to set the direction for myself and for others. And this is what thankfully happens. Enlightenment is always preceded by confusion. Again, Milton Erickson. This person possibly has an answer to most. He's not there anymore, Milton Erickson, as most of you know. Possibly help me represent things which are happening within me. I have read, heard, seen so much of Milton Erickson in last 2-3 years that to me, I have started mirroring him as well from the knowledge he has shared with this world. Now, this enlightenment is being used for the benefit of the world. Coming to the smartness or the intelligence profile, pretty impressive. Similarly, the genetic quotients, pretty impressive. But the lower thing which you see, 17.7%, the EQ part, the emotional quotient part, it had the maximum work requirement on my side. It so happened in 2012, my son, I slapped him very hard. This hand is pretty heavy. And once I slapped him, I was so feeling guilty within me that I had consulted one Dr. Palan is there. He's a pioneer in hypnotherapy in India. I consulted him. So I've slapped my son and I can't handle it anymore. He said, I'll give you one very good solution to handle him next time as well. If he does something wrong, what you need to do is you need to not to take or slap him once, but you take both his hands up. I was wondering, boss, if one slap is not enough, then how would I manage the slapping with both the hands? He said, no, not that way. You have to just take your arms up and give him a big hug. And that moment, it changed my life. He said, every child knows where he is wrong, how guilty he is within himself. As a parent, we needn't punish them. We need to just accept them. And this concept of acceptance changed a lot of things. Then he does a program on transformation. I joined that program. Not only I joined it, my 20 other friends, I sponsored them for that as well. I've used that technique of hypnotherapy very well. Then I could work on my emotional part, and as the time passed by, I started working on it one by one. And a lot of work has already happened here. Now, this is totally within me. The other thing which was there was people. There again, the work is happening. It is difficult for me to make out how much of it has happened, but this is already happening around. And as I studied more and more and wondered more, I could know that there is a very good way of learning as per Vedic knowledge which our country has. Sarvana, the reading and listening, Manana, reflection, and Nididhyasana, the experiential part of it. That is learning through secondary sources, consuming knowledge through podcasts, blogs, reading. Once I came to know of this, then I started working on the audio part of it, the reading part of it. Reading was really good with me from very beginning. Let me go back and show if it's kept here. It will be in the following slide. The contemplating on the knowledge, the Manana Chintan part of it, to make it whatever we have learned, to make it as part of your own experience. The first hand thought process, due thought to be given on that. Then is to maximize it, to deepen it, is to experience the learning. And that's what I started doing in 2012. From that stage on, I'm officially an hypnotherapist and working towards helping others. Coming back to this. So this is where you can see, as I said, the Shravana part of it, the Manan part of it was pretty easy. For the temporals are pretty strong here. The kinesthetic was always on, but I was never really focused on it. The visual part was pretty good there. Sensory learning, which is again mentioned there in learning part, you can say it's pretty balanced. So no complaints whatsoever. Coming back to that elephant tail, yes, I was never ever focused in complying with things as such, in writing exams, so much so for everybody's fun part of it. Even in my graduation, the graduation part of your career, I attempted myself to fail because I was not confident enough that I would get the kind of grade that I'm looking at. I wrote exams for 45 minutes with an attempt to fail and used to leave the examination hall. To my surprise and shock, more of a shock, I would say, I passed with good marks. Anyway, after that, I never pursued my post-graduation or any other thing. The multidisciplinary learning was always pretty decent. And if you can see, the primary, secondary, university is all good. The adaptiveness, which I'm seeing right now, the primary, yes, I was in a trance, still I'm in a trance. The adaptiveness at this stage is very, very high. Possibly that is reflecting a lot and helping me a lot more than what possibly I should have imagined. This elephant is back here for the genetic memory. The working memory is pretty good. Sensory, yes, I have started working on it. Since the inputs were sensory, and this is sensory, so this gives me a confidence. Whatever I had arrived as an experientially, this report has helped me know, yes, this is it. It is like this. Even whatever exists on this earth with the universe around, it is the science which catches up. Similarly, for me, whatever was there, the science of GBP has helped me know myself better. This is the higher secondary or the college majors things, not much relevant as of now, but yes, pretty much in line. This gives me a confidence as on date that whatever I wish to learn, I can. And I can do so much. I never knew that there was so much of intelligence within me. And this is really impressive. For the multidisciplinary part, learning, it is with my experience, I could know that I need to shift from one subject to the other subject and parallelly focus on it. Typically, it happens in my office as well, where I'm sitting right now. If I'm working, I'm fully focused. The tea comes, I don't know the tea has come. Okay, while I'm working on one task, I take a break from this task, I take up the another task, get into it. I take the break from it and work on another task. So multidisciplinary learning happens that way. It can deepen it that way. Extracurricular activity, this is just for fun. There are a lot of things. To me, this, since a lot of work has already happened within me, traces do remain, but yes, they are already in line with it. And there is so much, these are pointing again for me to do in future as well. As the information will get percolated within me, I'll possibly work on it. This is just the brief. There's a lot more in the story. This is for the reading for the people who are curious to know. These are the values. It is 3-4 months back only, I confessed to my family that I'm an introvert. And to my family's shock, they could never believe it. Because this introversion was always under cover for my self-confidence. To me, I was always intuitive in terms of thought process, but it turns out it is more of a sensing. This is a revelation. The process converging, yes, it is converging. That I have managed by slowing down, by not coming down to the conclusions as long as possible. I give things to time to settle. This is an understanding again. If things are moving here, I need to give it time to settle. Once it settles, only then it can take the shape of wherever it is or whatever I wanted to happen. Thinking, yes, that was the major play where it was totally random and the inconsistency was part of it. Other things are pretty good. The harmony index points out to the devil within. I needn't go search out for the devil. It is already there within. So in terms of career domain preferences, so we can see the 3 tall numbers there: realistic, investigative, and artistic. So I call it as the Ria darling, and I'm curious to see where it leads to. This is something which we every day see, the world around us. And this is also which we see, chaos at times. But beauty is, in spite of all this, there is a world which is even more beautiful. Now, this is an understanding which I have developed over a period of time through my experiences. to looking at things from various perspectives. And all thanks to the X. I can see the chaos in the world, I can see the peace, and I can appreciate the beauty of the universe as well. Going ahead on the similar lines for a better understanding, this is our body cells, which are possibly fighting with each other. Now, at one level, it appears it's a complete chaos. Why these cells are fighting with each other? But they keep on fighting with each other. The old cells die, the new come up for keeping our skin healthy. So the beauty is outside as well. Again, different layers, different levels of understanding, perspectives. And here again, the cyclical things which possibly I can perceive, and I'm trying to share that whatever happens within me at any given point of time. Another example, there are the dots which are in different colors, but if I see the group of it doesn't make sense at all. It is again chaos. But we need to arrive at the relevant perspective to see things. These dots, which doesn't make sense when you see it from a certain perspective. And that's where the beauty of things is. Every person's map of the world is as unique as their thumbprint. There are no two people alike, no two people who understand the same sentence the same way. So in dealing with people, that is my task as well. If you have seen my report carefully there, you try not to fit them to your concept of what they should be. Milton Erickson again. This is what the GBP brings for many people to understand within themselves, the acceptance part where it will begin. The same understanding needs to go to the family as well, or the people around, the parenting part of it, or the pairing part of it, the education part of it. We know there are a lot of challenges, but if we have this thumbprint, we know the possibilities as well. While all this has happened, the challenge is the cyclical nature doesn't stop. There was an exercise which I did with myself, is listening to the great R.D. Burman for 3 months continuously. It is the last year I did this exercise, starting September, October, November. Till January, I remember, I listened to this person. Only R.D. Burman songs playing continuously throughout the day, whatever I'm sleeping or doing, I'm traveling. I've listened to each and every of his songs. I've listened to each and every of his creations. And I was really impressed. The R.D. Burman is such a genius guy. And I was wondering, is he the only genius guy? Immediately the comparison came to my mind, is A.R. Rahman. So I started listening to him for another 2 months. I could easily make out the uniqueness both of them had in their work. And even now I can know, I know the intricacies, the areas where they are specialized. Since I have interacted so much of their work. And then came this questions, was one genius or there are two geniuses, or is there a possibility of having multiple geniuses? This question was there with me for a pretty long time. Now, the thought process is how, as I said, the time I give it to percolate or do things, the representation system within me makes the difference. Then my attention was caught to this tree. I was thinking, if this was the R.D. Burman, the tree which we normally see, then what is A.R. Rahman? Then I got the answer like this. Possibly, the A.R. Rahman is the tree with white trunk. But is there, another question was, are there only one or two geniuses, or there are many, or is there any real space for them? Then I could understand even better when I saw this. This earth, this universe is a forest of geniuses, a forest full of unique trees, unique leaves, unique things. And best part is all of them have space for themselves. They can grow very well in line with each other, taking care of each other, and they make the world so much better. And with this image, I hereby end my presentation, and I'm available for questions, if any. Thank you.
Let's go ahead with Sir, because Sir has a very special space and place for the capital X, and it was a big spiritual treat. Over to Sir. Yes, please.
Yeah, maybe there are any questions before that we can allow the participant to ask anything to Sir, and then I can comment on it. Yeah.
Sir, I was wondering, his sequential is very strong, right? And but his presentation he's a typical left brainer, but then I found that his presentation was kind of the slides were all kind of random, and so I wanted to ask about that, sir.
Okay. I think Tejvir, you have any answer? Or?
No, sir. It's like this. Getting in line is difficult for me, and I have accepted that fact. It is like this. There is the lack of this, you can say, persistence, because already I've seen things lining up. I said, why should I comply with it? Possible that.
Yeah, right. That's the. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anyone else? Okay, so first of all, excellent out of the box presentation. So the trait of X3 is seen, which is quite different from X1 and X2. I think all audience need to know that it is not the capital X that is that's different here. Whether it is an X1 and X2 and X3, when you come to the advanced training classes of fingerprints, you would be surprised to know there are millions of X types are there. Like all patterns are there in millions and millions. So it would be very simplified to say that, okay, I also has an X1, you also have an X1. So there are a lot of similar thought process would be there. That would be a oversimplified version of understanding. But to begin with, I think keeping it as X1 and X1 and X3 and X3 would have some similarities is fairly good enough. That's point number one. And the point number two, I don't know whether it happened coincident or you are meant to be like that. Tej and Veer, there are two names there. We all know Tej means fast. So left brain and right brain fast. But interestingly, the right brain is super fast. Because we are not giving a quantitative number, we are not able to say that, but it is, I know, the back end of it, it is super fast. So Tej is already there. Now the interesting thing is Veer. We all know Veer means the one here never wants to, give up. They fight till the end. That's Veer. And with the capital X3, you prove that also in your name. So Tej and Veer together has been a right coincidence, and interestingly, with my little bit of out of the box thinking, I could figure out some connection is there with the name. That's point number one. The point number two, the Brinda was asking that you are not in sequence. My understanding to the question is he is actually, if you remember the previous session, X3 is not X1 and X2. So there's a slight cognitive primary processor is there, but is mild in nature. So it is not that he doesn't, he is too introvert. Yes, he is an introvert, but he doesn't avoid people to that extent what X1 and X2 will do it. X2 will do it more, and X1 will also do it depending upon the percentage of the number of neurons, ridge counts that are found there. So X3 is actually making people to come to him, and then when they come closer to him, they find that he is different. So it would be like a CX of a very high order. Okay, so technically speaking, it is something like 98% secondary processor and 2% primary processor kind of thing. So that is one point that I wanted to mention that. But to answer Brinda's question, see, if you look at his intuitive and sensory, he is strong with sensory. See, when you are strong with sensory, your integrating ability to mentally, coherently connect with the flow of thoughts may not happen that strong. And very interestingly, if you look back to his brain 10 lobes graph, the strongest of his lobe is right temporal. So we all know right temporal is emotions, and it is more random in nature. So he is not consistently introvert, but in the right temporal, he is more extrovert. So that extroversion, along with the X3, is actually bringing in some what I can call it as a randomness. That is what he was talking, more like a right brainer, because that is coming from the right temporal, that is more predominant. I think 11% is the number one, is the right temporal. So that is how it is. The reason is that only. I think otherwise, definitely, it is not easy for people to connect with this kind of presentations, unless otherwise you are aware of the level of spiritual out of the box connectivity and all. You will definitely find it. And one of the audience have already said that I'm not able to connect because it is not children's pedagogical learning. It is more an andragogical learning. So it is not easy to just grasp, because the connectivity is more cosmic in nature. If you are able to abstractly understand the points which are not told, and his examples are quite of a higher order. So it is very natural for those who are, having a brain that would not have any small x or capital X, or they are already experienced with seeing some capital X and small x at home. If you don't have personally a small x or capital X, or you have not come across people with a capital X and small x in the family or with the relationships, it is not that easy to grasp and get to the core of what he is trying to tell. But I would advise all those who felt little not able to really figure out what he is trying to say, maybe you have to go through it again, like reading a spiritual book. Maybe you have to take time and reflect on his thoughts and words. Maybe after some time you'll find some connectivity. But definitely, if you have not done any counseling, it would be little bit of higher order thinking, because the X3 is doing the magic of stimulating so much of the prefrontals. But so it is very difficult to connect and try to understand what he is trying to communicate. It is like natural. But he has a side of trying to explain it also in simpler terms. So he can be very simple if you want, and he can be so complex if you wish to. So that's a learning that I take home today. And very interesting, I have one of my family member who has a similar pattern, all the 9 lobes A1 and one X3 is there. I have done counseling and I have been very close to to her. And one message, different thing that you need to remember is a right frontal X3 for a male is quite manageable or quite predictable, I would say, to some extent, than a female with an X3 on the similar right frontal. Because women think, or women go through their right brain as a default operating system, and men go through with a what we call the left brain operating system. Right brain is like Apple computer, and the left brain is like Windows. So there is a different. They are both two different platforms. So the understanding will have to come from, or the experiences would not be the same. So that's another important point. I thought I'll just keep it as my commentary on this presentation. I'm so happy to hear that this X3 is the one which is going to make him a super interpreter, and I'm sure over a period of time he would be able to take up questions and interpreting challenges and all. He can very easily take up. Great design and unique ID to be connecting with people and analyzing them. Great psychology traits are definitely there. Yes, when the adaptiveness is so high, a lot of the numbers would have become better because of the high adaptiveness. As you very rightly said, the motivation and the confidence and all those things would have got fairly well managed, because with your high spiritual, I would say, traits, though your quotient may not be that strong, but because of the X3, the spiritual traits would have been already played that role of empathizing and taking care and understanding the people's challenge, and able to see the other side of the story indirectly, and get to know about them. So a lot of balancing would have happened, and that's a great advantage. And I'm sure with your last few years of experimenting yourself with the psychological tools, and going through certain experiences of a different nature, I think a lot of changes would have come in. But all said and done, all of them will accelerate towards your understanding of genetic brain profiling of a higher order. So I see a great interpreter in the making, and to me, the greatest, I would say, blessing I consider to the family is you come from the state where no one else is already existing who are familiar with genetic brain profiling. So that way you become the pioneer in the region which you are currently living. And I'm sure in the days to come, you will definitely be having a team of people whom you can train and bring them into the family, and probably do a bigger service. Thereby, your genetic potential and design gets very clearly and very magnificently expressed and experienced as well. So, all the very best, Tejvir Singh ji. It's my pleasure to have you give this session, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I would even like to go back and go through once again, because some of your slides are awesome. It needs one more look to understand how you are connecting them. And very interestingly, this capital X is always looking at that which is not seen by others. So by letting others to see, or letting you to see what you are not able to see directly, is another way of putting across your internal introspection and learning of oneself. So I think you are a gift and a boon to the family. Hope and pray that you continue to stay and contribute your best to this global mission of transforming lives globally with genetic brain profiling. I'm sure you can be a great contributor as well. So thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. And sir, this is the feedback which I normally receive as well from people around, that for people who are new to me, they take certain time to understand. Once I meet somebody, then I can adjust my speed accordingly and deliver things in pieces as they can absorb. So that is possibly over a period of years I have developed that capability. Yes, the speed remains high. For me, yes. Thank you, sir. And it's really pleasure being part of GBP family, MiDNA family. I shall be contributing a big way.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
time to give back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we end the session at this point. Thank you very much.